Hi folks, welcome to your Gersnet immediate post-match reaction pod coming to you in association with Forest Precision Engineering. My name's Alec Anderson and I am speaking to you after Rangers were humped, pumped and royally dumped out of the Champions League playoff round by PSV Eindhoven. We went down 5-1 in Eindhoven tonight, losing 7-3 on aggregate. 5-1 we get beat in Eindhoven, losing 7-3 on aggregate. So, two things happen here. It's this player's fault, it's that player's fault, the manager's a dud, everybody's a dud, let's clear the place out. I tell you, this is what's going wrong. I never fancied him being the manager, the chairman, James Tavernier, obviously, just throw him in and whatever else. The guy who, answers at reception, I don't even know if it is a guy in the main stand and on match day. It's everybody's fault, and I tell you, it was that player's fault. And the other thing is, folk come in being, hey, let's just chill out, come on, bit of perspective here, Europa League final a wee while ago, and, manager's brand new, whole lot of new players, come on, I'm actually chilled here, and see if we turn this round on Sunday. I hope you remember what you were saying tonight. It's that we're going for the two extremes. Everybody's angry. Just admit to being angry. It's okay. And quite frankly, if you're not angry at seeing Rangers getting stuffed 5-1, then you shouldn't really be supporting the team at all. I've already had my wee knee-jerk bit tonight. The manager mentioned it again in his post-match interview, this whole thing about we're preparing for the Europa League. In fairness, I picked up on that earlier on last week, and I did say that I wasn't really sure if I'd remembered it properly, that somebody at Rangers, I thought it was Michael Beale, had actually kind of talked about how, Europa League wasn't that bad. And they might just have been meaning that we've budgeted for only getting into Europa League group stages, and that's fine. But I was kind of worried this spoke of a lack of ambition, really. Almost a kind of, we can't fail really, we've got a safety net. If you start looking towards the safety net, well, you're looking downwards and you end up getting the kind of performance that we got tonight. That's really simplistic, really harsh, and that's why this post-match reaction is going to come out about 2 hours after the actual match, because I've gave myself a wee bit of time to calm down, because as I say, if you can take watching Rangers getting beat 5-1, especially in a stadium, against a team who we have never lost to in 4 previous attempts in that stadium. They've only beaten us once, because this is only the second time PSV have actually beaten us over 90 minutes, and in all fairness, one of the other predictions I threw in there before the game today was that I felt as if historically the outlying result between Rangers and PSV, and it's always been pretty close between us in those previous 4 games, except for when we beat them 4-1 at Ibrox in the Champions League in 99-2000, when Michael Mols was scoring against when Dick Advocaat was our manager, when we had almost as much money as PSV, if not more. And I felt as if historically PSV were due to give us a down, and when it went 4-1 tonight, I thought, that'll probably be it. It'll be, but no, they had to. It's one of the nights when you couldn't even get the smugness of saying, I kind of predicted they'd beat us 4-1 tonight. It kind of makes that kind of sense. It had to be 5, and that's one thing about the game tonight. Last season, we knew things were going off the rails with Giovanni van Bronckhorst after he had eliminated PSV Eindhoven from this stage. At this stage, and beating them in Eindhoven. And just a few months earlier, had us in a European final. We knew things were going off the rails with them when we lost 4-0 at Parkhead in the first Old Firm game of the season, and followed that up with a 4-0 loss in the Champions League group stages in the Netherlands. Now, we're playing Celtic at Ibrox on Sunday, and we're doing it the other way about, and we didn't play PSV in the group stages tonight. We're playing them in the playoffs around again. I can't see Celtic beating us by 4 clear goals on Sunday, unless we really go to town on the players and the manager between now and that game. But a lot of it tonight reminded me of that game, those two games really, where we're 3-0 down or losing by 3 goals. I'm talking about Celtic at Parkhead last season, the first Old Firm game of last season, and that trip to Ajax. Where we're 3-0 down, it's an absolute disaster. 3-0 down at half time, we were in those games though, and then we just compound it. We come out in the second half, we can stabilise things if nothing else, stop the kind of bleeding, and then we have John McLaughlin passing the ball straight to David Turnbull to walk it into the back of our net to make it 4-0. Then we have Ryan Jack, who come on in the second half in Amsterdam and actually really helped us tidy up our performance. He passes the ball straight to an Ajax player, and they're in for 4-0. And tonight it was the same thing. We're 3 goals down, sorry. It's 4-1 to PSV Eindhoven. and Jack Butland, who for most of the game was looking like the kind of best player in the, as the game went on, as the goal started getting in, he was looking more and more like our best player in the park, because he was keeping the score down, pulling off a few cracking saves and doing that thing he does of coming out his box at the right time and just generally managing the goals, his goal area really well. He gives Connor Golson an absolute hospital pass, and usually you would say, back to your school days, whenever you're first playing football, when you're passing the ball back to the goalkeeper, you don't pass it between the sticks, you pass it to the side. But at that proximity to the goalkeeper, that proximity to the goals, and we looked de Jong right on top of him, Connor Golson just passed it straight back to Jack Butland. It went under him, it rolled into the net, and it was, again, it's a comic cuts thing, and you're back to a taste of what we had last season under Gio, and then he gets sacked, and we brought in Michael Beale rectified things. We were getting let down in Old Firm games, stopped us winning the Scottish Cup, stopped us winning the League Cup, which are the only things we could realistically win by the time Michael Beale was coming in, because, as he himself said, we couldn't defend properly, we couldn't cut out basic errors in our own box, and we couldn't score. The opposition box, we couldn't put it away. Now, PSV Eindhoven were making 28 errors at the back. It was obvious over both games that they are weak at the back. They have their weaknesses. They're definitely they're there to be got at, and there's a lot of talk. One of the things that really kind of upset me tonight was Michael Beale talking about how PSV are a good team, and I think that might be right. But leave that to us, Michael. Leave that to guys like me to come on to podcasts and what have you, and to talk about that on your behalf. Tonight, I found that kind of almost as irritating as James Tavernier having chewing gum in his mouth. You're not talking to Connie McLaughlin, Tav. You're talking to us. You're talking to the Rangers support. So just, I don't know. Again, I'm still angry. I'm picking up Tav's my hero. I'm calling him a legend on Saturday because he scored against Ross County, and now he's annoying me because of the way I'm just angry, and I know I'm talking crap more than usual. But there's a talk of how PSV are good. They'll show folk in the Champions League. I don't know if they will. I think Bayern Munich or Man City will put 5 or 6 past them in Eindhoven. They will get torn apart at the back, and it's not really up to us to be saying, as Rangers, the Rangers management, to be saying, it's okay because they're really good. We put them out last season. We put them out the Champions League last season. I know they've spent a lot of money. I know they're in a different financial bracket to us, and they're always a really good team. PSV Eindhoven, the record we have against them before tonight is amazing for that reason, because of the financial disparity, because how great a club PSV Eindhoven are. It isn't really a disgrace to lose 5-1 to PSV Eindhoven in Eindhoven, but I felt as if we were doing that thing that we were doing last season against Celtic in particular. It's slackness. Michael Beale usually gets a cracking, 5 minutes. There's one thing that's guaranteed to get with Michael Beale, and that's particularly if we're struggling in the first half, we had a bad first half. Even didn't come on at first day of the season when we lost in there. We come out, and the best 5 minutes we had in the whole game is the 5 minutes from 45 to 50, the start of the second half. And we were only 1-0 down tonight. PSV only managed 1 goal in the first half. But still well in the game, and we came out in the second half, and within a second we'd conceded a corner, and we're right on the back foot. Next thing, Borna Barisic is injured. He's pulled something. Hopefully he's going to be alright for Sunday. It didn't look like it. It looked like something that's going to keep him out for a while. And then the roof kind of started to fall in. They score straight away. We pull one back. 10 minutes later, they got the part. They score in 90 seconds. The basics in managing the game were just gone tonight, and that's the one thing that got to me. I felt as if Rabbi Matondo as well, who had a fantastic run, turn and run from his own half right down the wing, taking it into the PSV territory in the second or third minute of the game, and I thought, if that's setting the tone, if that's how we're going to play for the rest of the game, that's fantastic. After that, he still was making good runs. He was clean through and goal. A fantastic ball from Danilo later on in the game. Hits the post. Hit the post. I think that was a separate shot. He had Danilo. He couldn't get the ball out of his feet. He couldn't get the shot away. He kind of symbolised this whole thing of, you could see where it could have gone better. There's games. One of the great benefits last season of the Champions League was getting stuffed 7-1 by Liverpool at Ibrox. So here we are away from home to a team who is obviously a Champions League group stage team. We've been sure of that tonight. And we've only lost 5-1. So we've definitely seen worse in very recent memory. Like Smith, this team lost like 4-0 in the Amsterdam Arena. And 4-0 at home to Juventus and stuff like that, you know. And when Walter had, you know, a lot more money at his disposal to put together a much better team, and Rangers had much more regular access to the Champions League group stages and hadn't been through what we've been through over the last decade, and fighting our way back to just the top flight in Scotland, never mind the top level in Europe. But I think you need to look at this tonight and see where Rangers went wrong. It wasn't all about PSV Eindhoven being brilliant. It mostly was, though. The better team did win, and they put on a show because they were dying for a bit of revenge for last season. I think they got that goal just after the half-hour mark. It really relaxed them. Yeah, it's just it's hard to take. It's hard to describe. It's hard to give you a reaction. And that's all this is. It's a post-match reaction, as I say, without going on a proper downer and starting to kind of lose the plot. It's tough to take. But you have to take these things. The big question now is, where does this leave Michael Beale? And it's a bit stupid, I think, to be asking that question again already. We'll have to see this. Yeah, he came in October. But I mean, we've had three, Rangers in general, we've had three managers in the space of 2 years, really, when you think about it. Massive managerial changes, and that has a knock-on effect. And now you get Michael Beale, although he came in November last year, he's really just starting this season with his own team and his own image. A lot of new players arriving, and this is what the fans wanted. We wanted that massive turnover. Last round against Servette, after we got the draw in Geneva to put us into this game, and I was disgusted with the people, the Rangers fans, who were still getting on about Tav isn't good enough, even though he'd scored on the night, and it's terrible to have a draw. We're lucky to get away with a draw, blah blah blah, which wasn't true. We were at least deserving of a draw in that game, and this is real negativity. You've got to get a grip here. You've got to look at where we've been in European terms. I think what I'm finding difficult to come to terms with is instead of a bit like our record in Eindhoven. Generally, tonight should actually show how well we've done in the past in Eindhoven, the past 4 times we were there. I think what's happening to us in Europe in the Champions League group stages, and again tonight, last season and again tonight, is it shows how brilliantly we've did in the previous 5-6 years. Basically, Gerrard up until Gio, his win, and including his win in Eindhoven last season to get us into the Champions League group stages for the first time in 11 years. I think it was really, it's put that in perspective. And we need to start appreciating that, I think, because I feel as if it's been bookended. I feel as if progress near a corn and losing 7-1 to Liverpool. That was it. That was, things were never going to be as bad as that again. Hopefully things will never be as bad as Liverpool think. But in between times was the kind of glorious pulling of the club up by the hair again, back to what we were before 2012 through European football. We will now be in the draw for the Europa League on Friday lunchtime, as opposed to tomorrow's draw for the Champions League. The finals in Dublin, the Europa League finals in Dublin, the Champions League finals at Wembley. If we go to Dublin, we'll follow on. But we've done it before in this competition when it was known as the UEFA Cup. We played Bohemians in the mid-80s. Have Rangers ever played at Wembley? Have Rangers ever played at Wembley? I don't know. It's not going to be this season anyway. The way it's going tonight, I'll be quite happy. I think maybe if we finish third in the Europa League group stage and dropped into the Conference League and give that a right go. It's all about Sunday. Tonight, we come out, as I say, in the first 5-6 minutes, we actually look quite tidy. And it's always really important in these games to get a bit of rhythm going. We had a wee kind of attack down the right-hand side early doors, where we put some lovely, sharp interpassing together. A decent ball across the box, but Dessers couldn't get onto it. But then that was it. After that, it seemed to be, we're either going to go clean through on goal, that kind of miracle ball, a bit of a Hail Mary, for want of a better expression, over the top, or we're going to be defending, and we couldn't get any sustained pressure after that, and it seemed to be like the game was working its way through the entire Rangers team, and every time I think Connor Golson got caught in possession by De Jong in the first 20 or so minutes, but other than that, he had a few decent clearances, a couple of cracking tackles, and he was playing a couple of worldy passes right across the park and up the park to Matondo, who just was lacking that bit of sharpness, wasn't getting on them quick enough and making enough of them. But it was winning his yardage, so to speak. It was that kind of night where just about keeping the ball up there. And PSV were doing, they looked a bit frustrated, very upset very quickly. And I thought, there's a chance here. If we can just hold on here and keep them a bit edgy, they'll gradually start to think, is this Rangers going to do it again to us? Are they going to, again, overcome the odds and put us out in Europe? And they looked like they were ready to snap, a lot of them. But there's a wee bit of, Lundstrom, I think, leaving his foot on top of the stamping on somebody's toes, and the referee's been quite lenient as well, which is quite good. So I thought, this is good. We're going to be able to kind of leave the boot in here. They're going to get angrier and angrier, and eventually one of them's going to deck us, and they're going to go down to 10 men, and they're going to implode, and blah, blah, blah. But they kept getting the overloads. I've been worried from the very moment I realised we're going to be playing. For the very moment I watched them in the last round against Sturm Graz about Noah Lang, their new signing this season. Little ratbag he is, isn't he? But what a player. And he basically worked a kind of 1-2 with Veerman, and he gets the ball in between Cifuentes and Tavernier, and the ball goes over the middle, and there's, I think it was, big John Suter. The Moroccan chap's he's got the run on him, and he gets up there and he heads it. Saibari, he gets up there and he just clean header, basically nobody marking him. There'd been little signs, Luke de Jong had a header, he had a really clear header early on in the game from a corner, and nobody anywhere near him, but he couldn't guide it on target. He was too far back up the box. But there was little signs that it was coming, but it looked like we were kind of edging into the game, and we were kind of starting to get a wee foothold, quite happy to take the pressure and hit on the break. But then they started to pulling away from us. The overloads were getting too much and they were stretching us. And then they had this little move where they go in between Cifuentes and Tavernier round the back of us. And it looks basic, but I think it's a part of the sharpness, then the fitness. I mean, these guys are faster than us, apart from anything else. And then they've got a greater accuracy with their passing. Ball goes into the middle, big Saibari, so he just walks onto it, heads it down into the bottom of the net, but we held on until half time, and so we came out with that terrible start to the second half. And what happened then? I'm trying not to remember. This is the problem. I'm trying to recall what happened, but I don't want to remember. It was Saibari again. This time he's shooting, wasn't it? It was a long ball to the back post. Luke de Jong, he's cutting it back across, and there's Saibari coming in. We're getting pulled all over the place, and this is the thing. I think Tav's going to get it tight after this one. He always does after the Rangers defeat, but the way PSV worked the ball, they're working it right across the whole box for most of the goals that they scored. So you can pick who you decide is to blame for them. I think John Suter might be a bit out of position for that one. Again, Connor Golson nowhere to be seen. Tav, could he have cut it out before it got to De Jong? It's difficult to know. It was just moving too fast for us, and that was 2-0 when you're thinking, right, here we go. This is game over, because it started the second half really badly. But the manager does his usual substitutions on the hour. He brings on Danilo for Dessers and Lammers for Nico Raskin. They would started the game with this kind of, I thought it was the 4-diamond-2, and John Lundstrom, as I was thinking before the match, he did come in place of Ryan Jack for that bit of physicality. He's been playing well the past couple of games, Lundstrom, but including making one as a sub against PSV for Ryan Jack. He's been playing quite well in these games. I thought he played his way back into the team, particularly as he's bigger than Ryan Jack, and he would give you the option of basically he can drop in, as we know, he can drop in and be an actual third centre half. And I thought that made perfect sense for what we're doing and where we were and who we're playing against tonight. And he does start, and he's kind of sitting, but it wasn't. I thought it was in Cifuentes is on the right hand side, and Raskin on the left hand side of a kind of diamond with what do you call it? Todd Cantwell's at the top of the diamond, and then you've got Dessers as an actual centre forward, with Rabbi Matondo seeming to have this kind of roving commission on the left wing, mostly in support of Dessers. But I think what's actually happened is it's been a 4 across the way, with Cantwell kind of sitting in front of them, and then he's almost playing up front. It's almost a 4-4-2. Raskin was more tucked in, and we've got Todd Cantwell kind of supporting or playing alongside Cyril Dessers, and Dessers tonight looked fat and slow. It was reminiscent of a man who's just gone to Fenerbahce, Alfredo Morelos, having one of his poor nights. He did look unfit tonight, Dessers, and this kind of level's going to show him. It didn't show him up last Tuesday at Ibrox. He's playing the same team and what have you, but he didn't look on it tonight. He wasn't getting the service. He's maybe not involved enough in the game because the rest of his teammates kind of got a hold of the ball. But it was just one of those nights where everybody was looking well below par. Ends up, it's the second half, the manager eventually brings on Lammers and Danilo, and you can see him visibly after the Borna substitution. He's changed 4-1-4-1. He's saying to Lundstrom, we're going to change that 4-1-4-1. And we got the park, a few moments, go quite close a few times, got a bit of pressure, but I'm thinking, well, this is PSV, they're taking their foot off the gas, they're 2 goals up in the tie, they're quite happy. And then Cantwell, who had a quieter night, he's involved, but maybe creatively quite kind of circumvented, but he dinks a beautiful ball over the top to Lammers, who cuts it back beautifully to the back post, and there's James Tavernier to score. He's now scored 3 games, 3 of the 4 games we've played in Europe this season. Tav scored. He scored our only goal, our last goal of the 2, but he scored the Champions League group stages last season. He scored the first goal in Europe this season. That's him scoring, and that's 2 from open play, both away from home. But he's already going to be getting it tight because we went straight back up the park. PSV went straight back up the park from that. Tav gives away a free kick, and they put the free kick into the box. Tav is the first man that goes over, so obviously he's going to get the blame more than anybody else. But to me, Connor Golson was absolutely nowhere to be seen. We end up with Sam Lammers as trying to mark Luke de Jong, who might as well Luke de Jong run about with a big arrow pointing down to him from the sky, coming from a big billboard, big neon billboard, just saying, "I am your classic big guy centre forward. I will get on the end of crosses into the box." We didn't mark Luke de Jong properly, so he scores, as he is wont to do. And like 10 minutes later, they made it. By that point, they're stretching us all over the place. We kept putting pressure on, we kept trying to put at that point, it's getting a bit desperate. You've got to score 2 goals in the last quarter of an hour, but they've shown enough glimpses, and I thought there was a chance. I think we pulled it back to 3-2. You're thinking we're going to upset them again. They're going to start getting worries because psychologically we must play on their mind. But it's 4-1. No, that arrogance that I'm always talking about with the Dutch, where they believe in themselves too much at times. They can't understand why a team isn't just lying down to them almost. Well, I mean, it was symbolic from. It was evident the moment Michael Beale comes out on the park and tries to shake hands with Peter Bosch and the whole PSV bench. They sat in their seats. They stayed in their seats. Didn't even get up to shake hands. Didn't even stand up to shake hands with the opposition manager, which I thought was, a lot of smiles in that, but I thought it was pretty disgusting. Just basic manners. But I suppose they backed it up in their minds tonight. Listen, I thought one of the benefits of doing a long preview pod, far too long a preview pod, it was a half an hour it lasted earlier today, was that would let me have an excuse to do a really short post-match reaction pod when things turned out the way they did. I thought the law of averages said that PSV were eventually going to beat us, but Peter Bosch, law of averages, that's him now, beat Rangers in Europe with 3 different teams. I thought eventually we would beat us via Leverkusen, Lyon, and now PSV Eindhoven. I thought the law of averages worked for us then, maybe a chance against them. We were in that all blue kit that we wore back in 78, 79 when we first met PSV in Europe and became the first team ever to beat them on their home patch. It's taken them 45 years to get that revenge. I don't know. Kamar Roof stays fit. That's a big thing. If Kamar Roof stays fit, well, we'll probably win. We'll probably win the Europa League. But it was bad. It was just bad tonight, and I don't really know what else to say to these folks. It is humiliating to watch Rangers get beat 5-1. Yeah, it is all about Sunday, but that actually feels like a bit of a cop out. I didn't enjoy the post-match interviews, but then I suppose you never do. If you're looking for somebody to blame, things to blame, I can't say. I mean, James Tavernier, to me, I keep saying he's a legend. The man is a legend. I do love him, so I can't turn on him. And he scored again tonight, and he's far from the only person to blame for what happened out there. But they do need to go out there now and put on a performance on Sunday. Part of me is worried that that's all they were thinking about. That's what they just saw this as a bit of a gimme. And the idea for me is, if you start seeing things as a gimme, if you start thinking, well, it's okay if we lose, if you don't go out there just like absolutely terrified at the prospect of not winning, then you're going to end up not just losing, but getting stuffed. We got stuffed tonight. Yeah, it was bad. Brian will be in the hot seat on Friday night to have a better look back at this. Unfortunately, it's me that's his guest, so I'll be repeating a lot of stuff I've just said to you just now, probably in the same tone of voice. But we'll also be looking ahead to the first Old Firm game of the season, which is more massive than ever before. And we'll be looking back on the 3 other teams that ended up in our group after the draw at the Grimaldi Sports Forum in Monaco at lunchtime on Friday. That'll take our minds off things a wee bit. And yeah, see you on Friday, folks.